ReMA2026 on the live stage. I am super excited to be here. I'm here with Abhishek Goenka, Brett Eckhart. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, our pleasure.
All right, so one thing that I want us to focus on right now is this hour was sponsored by the Young Execs Council. And as we may not all look at, but we are in that young exec time frame right now. And I want to talk about how there's been the next generation stepping up, right? And I think that's something that really gets overlooked when we're talking about, hey, leadership in companies, what's it look like to come up, take those next steps, stuff like that. But I want to start by getting a little bit of background on you guys so that you can share with everybody on what you guys do in your companies, kind of your history. You guys have a lot of family history in the businesses. So Abhishek, talk about your company and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks for having me on. My company is Steelboro International. It's a family business. My father started it back in 1978. And even before that, my grandfather ran stainless steel mills in India. So we do have, some couple generations in the scrap industry. Okay. Myself, I started about 10 years back, but what we do is we are buyers to the export markets. We supply factories, mills, processors across Asia, across Europe. And, we can get more into it, but it's been an entire journey joining the family business, learning under my dad, and then trying to grow it and take it to the next step.
Yeah, and where are you in terms of like leadership and ownership within the company?
Yeah, so I'm both me and my father. My father's still in the business. Both me and him jointly lead the business. We jointly own the company. He's got his spheres of influence. I got my spheres, but we very much are. Let's say I'm the one trying to grow the business. He's the one making sure I don't screw it up.
Yeah, it's good to have that wisdom around, right? So we don't make those mistakes. So, all right, Brett, talk about your history, your family history in the business, and kind of what your role is now.
I think I'm similar to, I would say I'm a third generation. My grandfather started in 72, so not even that much earlier than where you guys started. And my grandfather was bought out by my father in 97. And at that time, they sold 50% of our business to Schnitzer Steel. And that was how my dad got the capital to buy my grandfather out of the business, which was capital, but it was a lot to him at the time. And so I came into business in 04 after I graduated with my undergraduate degree. And so then I started working full-time in 04. And in 2016 is when I bought my father and mother out of the business and Schnitzer at the same time. So back to 100% family owned. And at that time is the same. I had a core group of individuals, one of them being Nick Snyder, who's standing right there, that were with me from the very start, like from on my journey, in different stages. And so I think there's 8 of us now total, 7 or 8 of us, and I basically just gifted them 20% of the business. I said, if you guys are gonna want to go on this ride, then we got the work done to buy out my parents, so it's 100%, was at the time 100% owned by me. Yeah. And so then I took 20% and broke it off and said, you guys now own 20% of the business, let's go build it.
That's awesome. That's great. So you both have great stories, and I've come into ownership and leadership in a little bit different route than you guys. I started in a different industry and built and sold a business and then bought into this industry. So, and I've got a co-owner as well, Adam, who's not here on the stage with us, but similar to you guys, we've transitioned businesses from previous owners to new owners, new leadership, and that presents a lot of challenges. So, we've talked about a little bit about your history. You guys both grew up in the industry. Obviously, a little bit more with the trading side of things. Brett, you've been in the yard. I'm totally, I don't get dirty. So,
we noticed.
Yeah, I know. I'm too pretty. I'm too pretty. So what's been one of the biggest, surprises or challenges that you've both faced on moving from, hey, I'm kind of the next gen kid, or I'm starting as, as the kid, as the son, to now I'm a leader? So Brett, why don't you answer that one first? Like, what's been the biggest challenge you've seen as that?
I think the biggest challenge with anything was identifying like good people, right? And once you identify them, how can you keep them?
Yeah.
And that was part of like when I went through the phasing out my parents out of the business. I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to do it alone. So I wanted to take my core group of guys and say, okay, like, let's go. But I think that the biggest challenge is identifying those people and then finding a way to keep them. I'm grateful. I was lucky in the fact that I was able to do to set the structure up the way I did. Not everybody can do that, right? Because they still have families, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters in the business. It was just, I have one sister, she's a school teacher, so she was never involved in the business. So I kind of had a little more freedom to kind of build that. But I recognize that not everybody has that. So I look at that as it's probably the biggest when you're transitioning from a generation. Because I remember going through with my dad, and I ended up letting go, firing his cousin, right? And it was like one of the last family members in the business, and it was he goes, now there was nobody left here that he had hired, right? Everybody that is in that business today, in our business, and it's 250-ish employees, it was hired by either me or my guy that I put in on the HR side, Tom Neal. He's either hired them or I've hired them, right? So they're now kind of, it's our team that we've built, and that takes time to make that transition, and that to me is probably the biggest challenge, but definitely one that's like once you do overcome it and you get through it, is also like the most gratifying piece of the puzzle too. Yeah.
So I've had some similar experiences to that in terms of, since we acquired our business, there was a lot of people that had been in the business kind of since a very early point in time, and we're very fortunate that most of them are still with us, but it's taken that time to, build that trust, earn their respect, earn their trust over time, so that you feel like, hey, they're loyal to us, they're loyal to the company, like we have that working relationship, and we haven't just gone like, oh, you're old guard, gotta go. That can be a challenge with some transitions. So I'd
love to hear your for you, like what's been the toughest piece for you?
Oh, it's interesting hearing your story, because I feel like you've gone through the journey. I'm very much in that journey. I'm in the much more nascent stage. I'm 10 years into the business now. I'm just at the stage where I've earned enough chops where what I says has some gravitas to it. But I'm not the leader of the business, right? I'm one of the leaders of the business. So every decision is still me and my dad, and we're not always on the same page.
Oh yeah, I went through that for a while.
So like the big challenge we have, me and my dad, luckily, we have a good working relationship. We think about things the same way. In a lot of fronts, our risk appetite and our ambition is very different, right? Obviously, he's been in this for 40 years. He's built a great company. I'm blessed. I'm walking into an established company that's doing fairly well, but I want to take it to the next step. And he's very much like, no, we're good. Let's keep it here. So now when we start looking at risky decisions, risky appetites, and everything requires a good team, and that team is hearing one opinion from my dad, another opinion from me, that's where it gets a little confusing. How do I navigate it? How do I get us on the same page? How do I get my dad on the same page? And then how do I get my team to be on the same page? It's not just, my dad listening to his son, right? No, this is what we got to do. Let's rally the troops and get there. So that's really what the journey I'm on right now.
It's like the story of the old bull and the young bull. Like everybody's heard that analogy, right? Like
absolutely.
I can go into the details, but you guys probably know it. But it's the same thing, right? Like the old bull, like they're like, let's just walk down and like take our time and be methodical. That's the old school. They've seen the journey, right? And we as young, like when the stage you're in right now, I went through it, and it was some of the most trying times with my dad. Like people think like Orange County choppers when like they're fighting, and there's some of those days, right? And it's real. But it's you both want the same thing, but you just have a very different approach of getting it. Like I was more aggressive. I want to buy this yard. I want to do this. I want to put that piece of equipment in. I want to go as fast as I can, as hard as I can. He said, whoa. Who's going to do this? How's that going to happen? Like, where's the capital going to come from to do this? And it's, but you want the same thing. And I was grateful my dad wanted me to have success. And luckily my dad was able to give me like enough rope to either hang myself or to have success, right? Luckily I found some good people to help me out, but that's a real battle, and I think more people don't really realize, like, that's where a lot of businesses go sideways. Like, one leader saying this, the other leader saying that, and they both want the same thing. They got to communicate a lot better. That's one thing I wish I could, if I could go back and do it again, I could smooth out a lot of that by just being a better communicator with my dad and saying that, and being more patient with him.
Well, that brings up a great one, and kind of one of my next questions is, you're able to look back at 10 years ago, you 15, 20 years ago when you're first starting the family business, starting to get into leadership, like what's one piece of advice like now you would give younger you about stepping into leadership within a family business or even a non-family business, just stepping into leadership at a younger age? Like what's one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Give me a second.
Yeah, go, Akshay.
For me, it was very much, listen, stand on the shoulders of giants, right? You want to move fast, you want to break things, you want to leave your own imprint on it. You know, I came into it a little cocky. I've worked in a couple companies before. I thought I was bringing something brand new to the table, and I was going to immediately take it to the next step.
Yeah.
But there is something to, you know, you got time. At least all of us here, we're going to be in this for the long term. Let's understand where we come from, understand what's made us great, and understand where your core skill sets are, and work with the family, because you work with, you know, for me, my father, and understand where the relationships are, what levers have we been successfully been able to pull to bring that success, and then figure out how to use those to bring it to the next level. But take your time, and communication. Communication is the number one biggest thing.
Yes.
When you're working with a team, you don't want to show that those conversations, those disagreements in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Get on the same page, and then lead the teams together. Everyone's, like you said, everyone's at the same goal. Establishing how to communicate properly, establishing the structure, and then running with it. Very early on, that was the biggest thing. Now I'm trying to get rid of all those structures and try to move a little quicker. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Brett, what would you tell younger you?
I would give my dad more grace. I would
Okay.
give him more. I would have gave him a little bit more time. Like when I think about it, like my dad was a young dad, and my parents got married when they were 17 and 18 years old.
Wow.
Right? They grew up across the street from each other, and they're still married to this day. Great marriage, like everything is, and I'm super grateful for them. But when he worked for my grandfather his whole life, and then he didn't become the quote unquote boss, right, until 1997, right, where it was his show to run it the way he wanted to. And so I came along 7 years later in 04, and I'm like, all right, let's go. It's my show. He's like, no, I've been working my ass off for this long.
I just got here, bud.
7 years seems like a long time when you're young, but as you get older, 7 years, 7 years it's not as long, you know what I mean? It goes quick, right?
Yeah.
And so I think knowing that, I would have been more patient with him and how I communicated with him, how I wanted to do things. And luckily he was allowed me to do what I wanted to do for the most part. But I would say I could have made it a lot easier on him than I did, right?
Yeah.
And my dad and I, he was the best man at my wedding. We
Okay.
had a great relationship. But not without our own trials and tribulations.
Always.
But if I ever need something or wanted something or wanted someone to talk to, he's probably the first guy I would call. But that didn't come easily, right?
Yeah.
I could have been more patient with him.
Okay. No, that's great.
I joke around that from 9 to 6, my dad hates me. We are not friends. And then at 6:01, we're good. We're buddies again. But until then, it's not going well.
6:01 Eastern or 6:01?
Depends on the day.
You guys are dealing internationally. That's 601.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So as we look forwards, as leaders, as younger leaders, you know, this multi-generational businesses, the scrap industry has been around for a long time. There's a lot of long-standing traditions. Things are also changing pretty rapidly right now, especially in the last 10 to 20 years. So how are you guys balancing your desire for change within the business while respecting what came before you and the way that the businesses have been run? Like how have you managed to thread that needle? Because that can be kind of challenging sometimes with like with your dads, you go through and you change something and they're like, I did all this work and you just undid it in a week. So how do you guys balance that? How do you cross that bridge?
I look at it as like a castle, right? Like you do make additions onto it, right? So I'm not trying to take away anything that is in place. I'm just trying to add on to what was already there, right? I want to make add an extra room or an extra more space on the backyard or whatever the case may be. I look at it as I was given a grand opportunity that most people will never be given in their lifetime. So it's really my job to just add on to it and not go and trying to wreck it and build a new building. I look at it as I have to figure out the way it was done, which is what got us to this point, which was what built the foundation, and how can I add onto that and bring what else can I bring into it to just make it better. Like not eliminate anything, just what can I do to make it better. And I think it's more people, it's diversification for us, it's a lot of things like that. It's not being afraid to pivot or evolve, and not being afraid to cut bait if you on something. I think a lot of people will drag something along because that's the way it was done, or that's how it should be done, or that's what kind of helped get it there. And I say, like, that's fine, but like if you have to keep building onto that addition, you can stop and go over here. Like it's look at it as, don't be afraid to change. Like the times change, moods change, people change. Like your business should change too.
Yeah. So you feel like you've done a pretty good job of not wrecking the castle and messaging that when there has been change to the previous generation. Hey, you guys did this, and here's why we're switching in a way that doesn't just totally upset them or stress or ruin those relationships.
Yeah, I'm just adding on to where you guys were either trying to go or where you were, and I'm trying to make it better.
Okay, awesome. All right, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about it's the classic immigrant story, right? When my dad started this business, he came to the country, didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
I was riding around on a bus with a map, circling yards that he wanted to visit, and to see where he's gone today. Now, when we start talking about change, I have this opinion. 2026 is a crazy year with AI, with all the technology coming out.
Yeah.
I have this belief that if I'm operating this business the same way in 2027 as I was in 2025, I've missed the boat. I messed up. So change is very top of mind and very important.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you change? I'm looking to introduce tools, new mindsets, new protocols that strengthen what has made us successful, not replace what has made us successful. So we're in a trading business, right? We're calling people, we're emailing people, we're shaking hands all day. But the people that we do business with, they do it because they trust us, they know us, we built that relationship. Now, if I suddenly try to change everything and go, hey, we've got 1,000 people working for us. These are all, AI bots. We'll quote you so quick,
So
right?
fast.
So fast.
Instantly.
That's not what they want, right?
They want a relationship.
They want a relationship. They don't know, hey, when I sell you this load, who am I dealing with? Is that someone who's got my back? So no, I got to find ways to use these tools to make sure I don't risk that. But I make it better, I make it stronger, I make it more transparent. If you've never met me, somehow I've introduced tools that now when you're meeting me, you know what we're about in a better and a quicker way. And that's where we bring success.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, there can be some interesting struggles with some of those changes and changing women before you. And we've had some of those struggles as well. Now, the old owner has transitioned out of our business, but still with some of our legacy employees, like we came in and it's like, okay, here's the castle that's been built, but we're going to add on a room. We're going to change a system or change a process here to help make us more efficient and help the business grow. And then working to get buy-in from the team, right? And that comes back to communication. How are you messaging that I don't want to destroy the company. We're trying to look ahead and make some of those steps. So, do you guys feel like you had any generational expectations put on you that you guys had to fight when you were coming up in the business?
I know. I know for myself, we deal a lot with the Asian markets, and my father is dealing with people that have been in this industry for 40 years. They don't want to deal with this young, in their eyes, this Americanized kid who, there's an entire reputation assigned to, oh, he's born in America, he's raised in America. He doesn't have for us the Indian culture that is what they trust. And it takes a while to build that relationship and to build that trust. And listen, I say it very openly, I am blessed, I am lucky. I'm walking into a business where I was handed the keys, right? I could have very easily just been an idiot and I still would have been handed these keys, right? I'm spoiled in that front, but I view it very differently. I view it as, I got to make sure I deserve this. I got to make sure I honor this. And because of that, I have to work very, very hard. And my big thing is I want to make sure no one ever questions my effort level, right? I want to be the first one in. I want to be the last one out. I want to know if someone asks me a question within the business, someone who's been in the business for 40 years in my company, I should still know more than they do. And I got to put in the effort to do that.
Okay. No, it sounds like you are rising to the level of those expectations or trying to exceed them.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do here. So, what about you, Brett?
I think all like true entrepreneurs, they have high levels of expectations for themselves. So it's like it's hard for me to believe that there's anybody that has a higher level of expectation for my success than me. Like that's just the way it is. Like I expect a lot for myself, so I can't imagine there's somebody else out there that expects more than I expect, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, like with my dad, he never expected me to do anything, just not go to jail, you know. And sometimes that was kind of iffy, right?
There's a near miss a few times.
Yeah, exactly. But and so like I've kind of taken that and just said, you know, like because I think he could see it in me that I had a high level of like expectation for myself, and he didn't want to put any more pressure. So the only thing I can do is take the lesson that he gave me and do the same thing with my kids. I have two sons. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, and because people ask me all the time, they're like, well, "Are you gonna have your kids come in the business?" And I was like, honestly, I don't really care, because I don't want them to think like I expect them to be a part of it, right? I'm doing it because I love it. Like I knew what I was gonna do my entire life. Since I was a little kid, I always knew where I was gonna work. The reason I went to college is because I wanted to play sports. Like I didn't go there to become a better scrap buyer. Like I played sports, and I just happened to get an education while I was there, right? Which worked out good for me, right?
Yeah.
But like, because I always knew where I was going to go. I always knew what I was going to do, and I think my dad could see that in me, that I loved it. So there was he probably didn't really have to feel like he expected me to do it, right? So all I can do is the same thing for my kids, and if they decide they don't want to be a part of it, I'm fine with that. Like I can sell the business just as easy as, you know, it's going to be a lot easier to sell it than it was to build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I know that, right?
Yeah.
So, like that being said, like I don't expect them, you know, but I get that from my dad because he never did expect it.
Oh, that's great. That's nice that you had that freedom, though. You didn't feel like you had to perform, and it was there if you wanted it.
Yeah, he's like, whenever you're ready to come to work, like show up.
Yeah.
Just make sure, like he did. The one thing he did say, he's like, if I remember this, like I graduated on Saturday, and my parents came up to the graduation from college, and I go, okay, and I was, you know, we had been partying the whole night before. I mean, I probably was still hungover, and I was like, all right, when are you ready for me to come to work? And he goes, Monday's fine. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, like, run the trailer, we take all your crap, we'll go home. I was like, all right. He goes, you had enough school, like get back to work. Let's go. If you want to go to work, now's the time. Yeah. And he goes, and then I remember, like, on the way home, he goes, okay, just so you know, like, nobody here is going to respect you or listen to you unless you're the first guy to pop the gates at 6 and the guy that closes the gates at 5:30. And he goes, if you want anybody to listen to you or respect you, that's the only way. And so that, I guess there is some expectations built into that, but that was the only thing. Like, pop the gates at 6, close them at 5:30. People will listen to you. They see you there working every day.
And were you there doing it?
I had to be.
Yeah.
Somebody had to get the gates, and I wanted the keys. I wanted to run the show, right? And so the only way to do that is to prove that you deserve it. Like, and how do you prove it? Get your ass there, open the gates, and let's go.
Yeah, that 100% resonates with me, man. If you want people who are running a business and really want it to grow, no one's got higher expectations for yourself. Every single day you come and you're like, what am I going to do today to take it to the next level, to push myself? And you don't rely on other people to have those expectations on yourself. Yeah, you do it yourself. You bring it to the table.
Because if you do, that's why third generation business is like, what's it, like 12% actually make it?
Oh, yeah,
right?
It feels like they all fail.
It's such a low percentage. I was gonna pull up the stat, but like second generation is like 50%. Third generation is crazy low. It is like in the teens or lower, right?
Yeah.
That actually make it. It's because either the parents expected more than the individual they were trying to get to run the business, or they just didn't want it and didn't care enough to set their level of expectations high enough to go run it and create some success. You know, create some wins for themselves, not just live off somebody else's wins. And I never wanted to be that. Just like you know, I mean, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I'm not trying to live off somebody else's wins.
100%.
Like I want my own championship rings, right? Like
you don't want to coast on somebody else's.
No.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. So with the, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit as we kind of look at the operations moving forwards and some of the challenges. And and I felt like this was true with our company, and I'll be interested to hear your guys' opinion, is that we bought this company, it was great, it was operating, but I felt like we really took it on a transition journey from snail mail to email. Have you guys had some of those similarities implementing new technologies or updating, and what has that transition been like within your guys' business?
Yeah, I mean, my dad still uses AOL.com.
Okay.
So
you got a CD that he's got to put in.
100%. No, so it's when it comes to technology, like I said before, 2025, 2026, 2027, each year should be different, and we're working very hard to modernize our tech stack, modernize how we're operating, and the goal really is, we talked about this yesterday, is setting up systems, right?
Yeah.
The goal is a business is well run when you got repeatable processes, when everything is running in a structure, in a flow, and that's something that can be replicated time and time again, and you can grow it.
Yeah.
And that's something we're really working hard to do, because historically, the way that my father grew the business is, hey, people want to do business with Andy Goenka. I need them to want to do business with Steel Bro.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're working really hard to do, and I think technology is a big part of that as well.
Yeah. So you said two things there that I kind of want to highlight, and first is since we're talking about transitioning businesses, right? If some point you want to exit the business, you guys want to sell, if there's not a next generation to come up, the businesses only have value if you're not the guy. So just like that, they want to do business with Steelboro. So I think that's great that you've been instrumental in that. And you have that vision. You can't do it today, but can you do it in 20 or 30 years? But how have the people that have been in the business longer than you, how have they been receptive to you trying to update the tech stack? Has that been a fight? Have you had to make a really good case, or are they just kind of trusting you blindly when you come to implementing those new technologies?
I have the trust to implement new technologies, but I don't have the buying's not the right word. They're not doing it. Right.
Okay.
If I need them to update the ERP with who they call today and what opportunities are, that's not happening. So that's where the struggle lies. I'd love to hear like both of your stories and how you're doing it, but I'm trying to figure out how to work around the reluctance.
Okay.
And still achieve the goals.
Yeah.
And setting it up for the future, right? Lay the foundation and allow the transition to take place slowly, but surely. Because in the long run, as you said, it needs to be done. Data is key these days. Those workflows are key. But you can't teach. What's the phrase? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Brett?
Nick Snyder's standing down there. He's kind of our big technology guy, right? I mean, anything that's like when we put in ReMA, which is now ReSpark, a couple years ago, he was right in the middle of it with our CFO Brian, and like that was their deal, right? Anything on the tech side, like I basically just kind of defer to people that have a better grasp for it than I do, that understand it and they see the value in it, and they like say, hey, this is a direction we need to take a hard look at, and I'm basically just there to support them. Like I'm in a position in my business right now, which I was in your position, and I've kind of worked myself into a position where all I really do is just clear obstacles for other people. Yeah. Like that's really like my only job now. We have a few different businesses. I spend 80-90% of my time just like, what do you need to be successful, right? So like implementing technology, like guys like Nick or Brian Ferguson, our CFO, who's basically rebuilt our whole financial dashboard through Anthropic, right?
Nice.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can go through and look at, to our dispatch, where we dispatch through AI to where the pricing is, the miles driven, everything's by truck, and we know like we can basically calculate in the backhaul, and we can financially project every load down to the dollar, like where the best place to go is with that load, depending on a yard by yard basis, right?
Okay. Wow.
And it's done just like that, right? But the reason that happened, it wasn't because of me. It was because I allow people that I said, what do you need to have the tools to be successful, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get there. Like that's where you're going. Like you're going to be in that position. But right now you got to be able to do all the jobs, right? Then once you can do them all, then you spend all your time basically scraping obstacles, scraping rocks out of the way to make their drive smooth. Like that's, and I actually love that about my job. Like I kind of like that chief obstacle remover. Like that's really my job, right?
Yeah. I feel like you've summed up ownership and leadership within the business world, accurately. And I so many times businesses, well, we're all here to make money. Like, businesses solve other businesses' problems. They solve people's problems. But once you get into that ownership and that leadership, like, your goal is just to clear the way so that your employees can do what they need to do and operate.
Yeah, you give them the vision. Like, this is where I'm trying to get to. Like, I want to build, at the pace that the opportunities present themselves, right? Like, that's as you mature in the business, you are able to slow down a little bit, and you just wait for the right opportunities, and then because you've seen them now come through, like that, attack that one, right? Like, that one's worth attacking.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, we want to go here with the business. We need to get that done. What do you guys need to get that done, right? And then let me go get it. Like, let me get these out of your way. Let me get you the equipment you need. Let me get you the facility, whatever that is, so we can go there.
Mm-hmm.
And
A question for you then. Have you ever run into a situation where your team are unable to identify what's holding them back? So to clear that obstacle, you need a way to clearly identify this is the obstacle. Sometimes I've found, and I'd love to hear your experience, where they don't actually identify what is the obstacle.
Yeah, I think it's a cumulative effort. Like, everybody's like looking at it from another angle, different angle, right? And like when we built that ownership group in our business, like, one of them is the CFO. The other guy's in charge of the commercial business. The other guy's like Nick, who basically does a lot of our purchasing and marketing. And so there's different roles. Like, one of them's our HR and insurance, like on the development side. So it's like, so everybody's coming at it from a different angle. So like, maybe I can't identify it, and maybe that other person can't identify it. Because part of that is like having tough conversations with people. Like, you're sucking at this. Like, your communication with these people sucks. So we need you to be better about that, right? And it's not coming from a place of like, we want you out of here. We just want you to be better, and this is what this guy's noticing, this guy's noticing. So like, let's make you better. So it's not necessarily I have to identify it. It's just that your group, the people that you trust their opinion, they have to help you identify it, and then you just got to listen to it, and then go work on it.
No.
I would answer that. I would answer that question too. Is they come to us with the problem, and then it's really asking more questions to get down to what is causing the problem, and how can we then solve the problem for them, right? So early on when we bought the business, we're shipping supplies out to our guys in the field, whether it's PPE or torch tips or whatever, and they're like, hey, these supply orders are just taking too long to get there, right? They're taking 2 weeks before they get shipped. Like, what can we do? And they're just saying, hey, here's my complaint, right? And it's like, okay, what's the solution, right? And they're like, I don't know, I just need this problem fixed. So then it's like, okay, I hear what the problem is, but we then have to take a step back and say, okay, what's the system we can put in place? And I'm big on systems to help speed that up. And we went from like a 2-week to a 2-day time frame just by implementing systems that then communicate with everybody.
So is it, to your question, just so I can, so are you saying like you're having a hard time identifying it? You're having a hard time allowing them to identify what the obstacles are. Are you able to see it, or
yeah? I mean, more the latter, right?
To them what,
as your team grows, you have a lot of different workflows, a lot of different processes, and oftentimes as the owner, as leader, you're up here, and a lot of those workflows are at the ground level, and you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So identifying that, hey, there's actually a roadblock here that it might be an easy fix. But setting up, I guess, maybe the systems to have that information travel up, to have the communication, so that way that there is a problem here, there is a blockage, and there's something that I can fix this issue, make my team better. But sometimes you just don't know about it. You don't learn about it, and they don't also realize that they're going slower, or they're having more trouble than they need to be. Because of an issue.
You're like, if I would have known, I would have taken that out for you. Like,
that's right.
I think it's like communication, right? Like, like I need to know. Like, if they know that that's your title, like, or they know that that's your job, and that's why I tell people, like, my job is to make your job easy, right? Not put more pressure on you. Like, my job is to take pressure off of you.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I spend my time doing. If they know that is your job, and that's kind of how you contribute now to the business, then they're a little more willing to open up and say, okay, if you're saying your job is to make my job easier, this is what I need.
Yeah.
And then
that's fair.
Yeah. For me, it's just asking questions. I just keep asking questions until we get down to the root cause, right? The problem's right here, but they're still complaining about up here, and we have to get 5 or 6 levels of questions deep to find out, okay, That's the actual problem. Now, how do we solve that problem?
Be a good question asker.
Yeah, that's a huge leadership skill that especially anybody younger coming up in the business can learn is learn to ask questions.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Brett, that I noted down here. So Abhijay and I are both kind of working to extricate ourselves from being the guy within the business. Yeah. Now, anybody that's been on social media in the scrap industry has probably seen your face more times than they care to admit. Are you concerned as the business will transition at some point that you are too much the guy and that the business is Brett, or that Brett is part of the, how do you differentiate that so that at some point, if you do transition it to your children or you do look to sell it, that you're just the guy and that it might not be the same without you?
I think the reality of our business is the only decisions I'm really, I'm making the big decisions, right? The big piles of shit end up on my desk, right? The big fires that got to be put out. But the day-to-day decision, I've really peeled myself out of the day-to-day decision making. But the only thing that I do, I think that, and it's important, is I sell all the scrap still, right? I sell all the ferrous, I sell all the non-ferrous, right? And that's more just because I like it. I like the relationships. Back to your point, why you don't want just AI bots or just quoting. It's more than just the quote, right? The quote's important. The pricing's important. But also, I think a lot of people still in this industry, we're trading real dollars, big dollars on a daily basis, right? And so that relationship is important. And I've come over the years to really value that part of it. So the only reason I haven't given that up is because I don't want to. I've given up plenty of shit I don't like doing. I'm happy to pass that off, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do, which is a vital part of our business, but I don't think it makes our business, is the selling of the material. Because I could hire somebody to come in and say, okay, you sell all the ferrous and non-ferrous. Would they do as good of a job as me? They'd probably do better. They'd probably they'd probably make more money than I make, because I probably give up sometimes for the relationship, right? But they'd probably be better at it than I am. So I still do it, and because I like it. But I don't know. I don't worry about that because the rest of the decision making is done by other people in my business.
So you don't feel like you are, because a lot of times you see the businesses and it's oh, well, the business has a name, but it's really this guy is the business. So you feel like you've got enough of a good team
systems
surrounding
and processes and facilities and equipment. In our industry, and I don't pretend to know a lot about the brokerage side. I think it's a fascinating business to me. People have approached me a lot about trying to go down that path, and it's just never been. I'm more of an operations guy. It's just how I cut my teeth and what I like. But I think from a quote unquote scrapyard standpoint, it's your facilities, it's your flow, it's your margins. It's that carries a lot more weight than the owner operator, right? Yeah. Unless you're in the day to day, you're running the shear, you're running the excavator, you're in the middle of it every day, then maybe that's different. If you're sitting there squeezing out, making the money, but that's not really my role. I think we have eight scrap yards and a bunch of pipe yards and trucks, just a bunch of different businesses. But so I'm really not involved in the day to day of a lot of it, right?
Okay, gotcha.
But for that reason, if my kids want a part of it, great. Here's a few different avenues you can go down, right? If you don't, great, that's fine.
Here's the systems and processes to help you succeed without me.
The next guy like you that comes along that's looking to do something different and wants to buy a business, I'll be like, hey, you want some yards in Oregon and Idaho?
I know a guy.
Yeah, come on.
All right, I got kind of one more question for you guys, and that is, what's one thing that the broader scrap recycled materials industry can do to support the next generation of leaders that's coming up, right? Whether that's supporting us because we're not, 60 or 70, or we're looking at the guy that's 25 years old and is really motivated. What's one thing you guys think that the industry as a whole can do to support them?
Go ahead.
So, ReMA does a great job of this, but there's a number of different areas where I think young people in this industry can use support. First off, when you're new to this industry, first time at this convention, trying to meet people is a challenge, and we've done a great job of, we have those events where, hey, come here, we have a quick networking session, you'll get to meet your first 2-3 people, and that'll cascade. So that's kind of been identified. the recognition, the knowledge of who the players and getting to know everyone. I think the education piece is huge, right? I'm coming from a perspective of how to make a business go from a small business to a medium-sized business to a larger business, right? How do you take a business that is run by one guy to being something that is in a position in 30 years to sell, right? And how do you build that game plan in? And I think that's where the industry, a lot of people have done it, right? We're not inventing something new, really, right? Where we might be finding new ways to do it, but everyone's trying to do a very similar thing. And that knowledge of, hey, maybe some of your processes, some of your accounting, how you structure your finances, there are more efficient, better ways to do it, right? The ways you market your material, you sell your material. I guess for us, we act as a bank, right?
Yeah.
So even the KPIs you have that you allow when you talk to banks, when you talk to investors, which, listen, that might be 30 years down the line, but there is a playbook to get there.
Yeah.
And that education of what is that playbook and why is that playbook even important is key. Because it's very easy to just do the same thing you've always been doing. It's very easy to do the same thing that people have done in the past. But there are some companies in this industry that have separated themselves. And they do certain things really, really well. And learning that playbook, having that education passed down, that's what this industry is very good at, but can continue to be doing very well for young people in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I think you highlighted on something else that's really a passion of mine is business transitions. I kind of dabbled in that for a little bit and but setting that next generation up through education and through those systems and processes so that the business can transition. It can be sold, it can be passed on, and it not just fall on its face. So I think that's great. And we need to be able to teach the next generation, here's what you need to do to succeed, to separate yourself from the field. So what about you, Britt?
John Sacco got me to do my first podcast, right? And I went on his podcast, and so then I was like, it's okay. Like, I'm willing to do it. So then Nick Snyder and I started our Scrap Life podcast, and from there, like, it really, like, one of the reasons why I do it is it helps promote our business. Like, I make no bones about that. But also because I also feel like I'm also like imparting. I'm giving like free advice, lessons, talking to people like, this is the transition that I went through, this is how I avoided that obstacle, this is why I set my yard up this way. Like, I used to do a lot more of those posts. Like, I moved my shear here so that I could be close to loading rail here and trucks, and just trying to like, if I can help somebody avoid an obstacle, like, it's out there trying to like figure it out, because it used to be hard to find a picture or video of how people would lay out a yard.
Yeah.
And it was a very secretive industry, right? I think I was one of the first people to post online, like, I just sold this load of non-ferrous to this company. Like, people would be very guarded about who they even sold their scrap to. We're all selling the same people. Like, it's not a secret. Like, but it was very, like, everything was kept very secretive, and I was finally like, I'm just tired of all the secrets. Like, here, like, this is how I do it. If you can come to my hometown and beat me at what I do and be better than me, you deserve to win. Like, that's the way I look at it, right? So if I take that and I just say, here's how I do, here's how I operate, here's how I chop wire, here's how I process my scrap. I'm not saying it's the right or the best. I'm just saying, like, that's what's worked for me and for our setup.
Yeah.
Like, if we can communicate that and we just be a little less guarded for the next generation. Look, for the guy, like, I always think about me when I was 22 trying to figure stuff out, like, how can I make stuff better? I wish somebody would have did that for me. So I just got to kind of keep that in mind, like, what would I have wanted to know if I was 22 trying to transition with, like, that's why I agreed to do this, right? Because I feel like I can impart some wisdom on some kid that's fighting it out with his dad right now to get ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, just know your dad has your best interest in mind, like, believe that and pump the brakes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, just little things like that. And I think we just got to communicate that better, which I think you guys do a good job of that. And the more we do that, I think the more we can help the next generation and get them involved in the industry and want them to be a part of it. Like, my kids are like, they don't give a shit about scrap metal. They care about Nike shoes and playing basketball. Like, that's what they care about. But they're 16 and they're 12. Like, they didn't grow up in the scrapyard like I did, throwing rocks through windows, trying to break out windows in cars like they were going to be crushed, right? Like, they didn't, it's just a different world, right? So maybe they won't fall in love with it like I did. But if they ever did, I at least want them to know, like, if I died tomorrow, I got them set up pretty good to, like, with some good information that they should be able to kind of at least take the ball and run with it for a little bit.
Yeah. I love that the theme from both of you was education and sharing of knowledge and all of that. So that's great. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway we can have right here is, like, to help the next generation, we need to share information. We need to pass that on. So I got 3 quick rapid fire questions from you guys. Quick answers. I'll go with the first one here. So, what is one trait that every next generation owner or operator needs to have?
We talked about it, ambition. You got to expect a lot of yourself and fight for that ambition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to be willing to put the work in. Like,
okay.
If you don't put the work in, I guarantee you, and I tell this to my kids playing sports, like, somebody's out there working harder than you right now, and at whatever, right? So if you're not willing to do that, then you can't get mad when somebody passes you.
Yeah.
That's just and whether that's in business or in life, like, if you're not willing to outwork the next guy, like, and I'm not saying harder, I'm saying harder and smarter, all the things, like,
yeah.
If you're not willing to do it, then you can't be upset when somebody does it better than you or takes your
yeah.
your
yeah.
business,
No, you
right?
got to use all those ways. All right. What is one book, podcast, or person that's influenced your leadership the most?
You know, I just read this globalization book, and I've been sending it to people, and it's just super interesting lately that I've read. That I think it was written in 2022, but it kind of talks about a lot of, like, the macroeconomic things that are going on right now. But I've been really enjoying. I'm reading the book Comfort Crisis right now.
Oh, that's a great book.
And it's a heater. Like,
man,
I've got it in my backpack for the plane ride home tonight. But I was like, man, this is fire. Like, I wish I would have read this 10 years ago. But it's called The Comfort Crisis, and it's so far so.
Highly recommend it. Yeah, it's a great one. What about you?
I'm blanking on the name of the book, but I think it's What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Okay.
And it's the entire idea of that, success, what brings success changes as you grow. Mm-hmm. And being always cognizant that, listen, working hard, which we talk about, working hard might get you to level 1, but then maybe starting to work a little bit more intelligent will get you to level 2. That book is very specific about different strategies, but it analyzed a bunch of different companies and just showing how very few companies go from, mid-size to, like, Fortune 500.
Kind of like a Good to Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually exactly that book. Yeah,
that's weird. It's like I've read it before.
Yeah, I know this.
Yeah, and in terms of that education and pushing that on, I mean, if you're coming up, read every book, listen to every podcast you can. Get an Audible account when you're driving or riding on your bike or exercising or whatever. Like, just be reading and learning all the time, because I mean that has helped me immensely in my business acumen and understanding what we're doing out here. So. Well, guys, that's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you both so very much, and hopefully we have shared some information for the next generation leaders and the current leaders as they look at the generation behind them on how they can make these transitions successful and how they can support the next generation. So,
thank you, sir.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.